You know that moment when you're scrolling through endless specs and glossy ads, and you start wondering if you're about to drop a few $100 on a piece of hardware that will sit idle most nights? I've been there, especially with ultra-wide, high refresh rate displays that promise gaming nirvana but also double as a TV for binge watching. That's why I wanted to break down the LG 45GX900A before you decide to click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest question most people ask is whether a 45-inch, curved OLED really fits on a typical desk or living room setup. The screen's 800R curvature is meant to wrap around your field of view, which is great if you sit close enough to feel the immersion, but it can feel a little aggressive if your desk is deeper than a meter. In my own office I measured about 95 centimeters from chair to monitor, and the curve actually helped reduce the need to swivel my head for side-by-side action. If you normally sit farther back, say a couch distance of 23 feet, the same curve can make the edges feel like you're looking at a panoramic billboard rather than a flat image, and you might find the visual comfort drops after an hour. The standout claim on this model is the 240 Hz refresh rate paired with a 0.03 milliseconds response time. In practice, that translates to buttery smooth motion in fast shooters and racing games. I ran a few 1v1 matches in a popular battle royale at 1440p, and the motion blur was practically invisible, even when I pushed the frame rate past 200 frames per second. The combination of OLED's per pixel illumination and the high refresh really shines when you have a graphics card that can keep up, especially with NVIDIA G-Sync handling any frame rate spikes. For people who already own a RTX 3080 Plus or a comparable AMD card, this monitor lets you exploit that raw power without worrying about tearing. On the flip side, that same OLED panel has a characteristic you need to factor into your decision: the risk of burn-in if you leave static elements on screen for too long. I haven't personally seen permanent ghosting after a few weeks of mixed-usage gaming sessions, a couple of movies, and the occasional desktop background, but the risk is still real for anyone who uses the display as a primary monitor for productivity tasks with static UI elements like toolbars or chat windows. LG does include pixel shifting and a logo dimming feature, but if you plan to keep a HUD or a stock ticker displayed 24/7, you might want a panel with a different technology. Another practical angle is connectivity. The 45GX900A packs HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort, and a USB-C port that delivers up to 65 W of power. The USB-C is a real convenience if you have a modern laptop. You can plug it in, charge it, and get a video signal all through a single cable, which cuts down on desk clutter. I tested it with a recent Ultrabook, and the display was instantly recognized at 1440p/240 Hz without any fiddling in the driver settings. The HDMI 2.1 also means you can hook up a next-gen console and actually hit 4K per 120 Hz if you ever want to use the monitor for console gaming, though the native resolution stays at 3440x1440, so you'll get a slightly stretched picture unless the console supports ultra-wide output. Brightness is a point where OLED traditionally lags behind high-end LCDs, and this model is no exception. LG rates it at a VESA DisplayHDR True Black 400, which sounds impressive on paper, but the peak nits are more modest compared to a 1000 nit LCD. In a darkened room, the blacks are truly infinite and the contrast feels cinematic, especially for narrative games or movies with heavy shadow detail. In a bright living room with lots of ambient light, you'll notice the screen struggling to stay punchy, and the colors can look a bit muted. If your primary gaming environment is a dim space, you'll love the HDR performance. If you often game with the blinds open, you might wish for a brighter panel. Now, who should actually buy this thing? If you're a serious competitive gamer who already runs high framerate titles and you value the immersive feel of an ultra-wide curve, this monitor gives you the fastest response you can find in a consumer-grade OLED, plus the visual depth that a flat panel can't match. The 45-inch size is also a sweet spot for people who want a single screen that can double as a couch-friendly entertainment hub without needing a separate TV. The built-in speakers are minimal, so you'll still want a sound system or headphones, but the visual experience is the main draw. Who should walk away? If you're mainly using your screen for office work, spreadsheets, or you need a bright display for a sunlit home office, the OLED's lower peak brightness and potential burn-in risk make it a less practical choice. Also, if you're on a tighter budget, the price tag of a 45-inch OLED with 240Hz is considerably higher than a comparable LCD ultrawide that can still deliver a solid 144Hz experience. Lastly, if you're not comfortable